Today on The Big Story, Singapore slips to second place behind China in the latest Pisa, but still does well overall. Stay on to find out more. Civil servants getting lower year-end bonus as the government exercise restraint amid weak economy performance. A typhoon in the Philippines has forced some SEA Games events to be suspended. Our assistant sports editor is in Clark with updates on the situation. It's 5:30 p.m. here in Singapore and you're watching The Big Story, where we discuss the top news of today and explain why it matters. I'm Haryanto Diman reporting to you live from the Straits Times newsroom. Now, in the latest program for International Student Assessment or Pisa, Singapore slipped from its previous number one position in 2015 to rank second. Now, the Republic's 15-year-olds emerged among the top performers in the international benchmarking study. Singapore came in second place in all three subjects covered in Pisa: mathematics, science and reading, losing out to China. Reading was the main focus for the latest study, and Singapore students showed significantly better literacy skills compared to 2015. The study also found a high proportion of students who expressed concern about failure. To explain more on the findings of the study, we have education correspondent Amelia Teng. Welcome, Amelia.
Hi.
Now, Amelia, if you could start us off, what are the main findings of the latest study, and what could be the potential factors contributing to these findings?
Okay, so this is Singapore's fourth time taking part in Pisa. This time we slipped to second place, just behind China, but it's still a very good performance. So it's across all three domains: reading, mathematics and science. Pisa chooses to focus on different subjects each time. So in this cycle, it's reading is the main domain. 2015 it was science. And reading in this case is not just about reading a book or understanding a text, but showing that you have higher order literacy thinking skills. Right. So this could be things like inferencing, assessing content, discerning between fact and opinion, evaluating things. So Singapore's score was better this time.
Okay.
And MOE attributes this to having more predominantly English-speaking homes for our students, and also changes in the curriculum over the past decade or so that have exposed students to different sorts of texts across different medium, and emphasizing critical reading as a more integral part of our curriculum.
Right.
So another key finding is that our low-income students actually do very well, and they do better than not just their own poor counterparts overseas, but also the OECD average as a whole.
Okay.
So meaning you take our low-income student compared to any international student, they score higher. And this is, I think, testament to the high standards of our system, and how well Singapore does as an entire system. So we have a very high average score.
Right.
Although, having said that, there is still a gap between our high performers, our high-income students and our low-income students, so the bottom and top quarter.
And that is something that hasn't changed much anyway from before, right?
Yes, similar to 2015, there's still a gap, primarily because our top students, our high-income students, do very, very well. So no matter how much our bottom students improve, the top keeps rising.
Right.
Yeah.
And Amelia, let's focus on another aspect of the study. Now, the study also found a high proportion of students who expressed concerns about failure. Now, is this surprising, and how will this be managed?
Yeah. I guess to me it's not surprising because anyway, this fear of failure component is a new question that Pisa decided to include this time round.
Okay.
And it found that more than 70% of our students in Singapore expressed this concern about failure, and they were all afraid of failure for different things. Fearful of what others might think of them if they fail, fearful for their own future if they fail, and the OECD average is 50%, so it's much higher, and we are among the highest. It's not surprising, because if you think about it, the countries with students who do very well tend to be the ones who have a high rate of failure, a sense of fear of failure, because you are motivated by that sense of failure to do well, right? Yeah, so in that way, that fear drives you to work hard and to succeed. But I guess one bright spot is that 60% of our students said they believed in this thing called a growth mindset. And the growth mindset is the belief that your intelligence can be improved with the amount of effort you put in. So it's encouraging to know that your intelligence is not like innate and is not fixed.
Right. You reap what you sow in a sense, right?
So this is not a bad figure, 60%. The OECD average is 63%, and it's higher than most of the other Asian systems.
Right. So and also MOE said that it's looking into these areas as well.
Yeah, correct. So I mean, the growth mindset is something that can always be improved, as well as this fear of failure that our students have. And MOE did say that they are looking into different ways to try and improve this. And moral education and values is actually one of the things that they are looking into to try and to address these prevalent attitudes.
Okay. Now, thank you, Amelia, for sharing more on this. Now, to read in detail of the findings of this study, you can visit our website at straitstimes.com. Now, on to our second segment. Most of Singapore's 85,000 civil servants will get a year-end bonus that is the lowest in 10 years, given the weak economic outlook. Most civil servants will receive year-end bonus of 0.1 month plus an additional one-off lump sum payment of $250 to $1,500. Civil servants in the lower pay grades will get higher lump sum payouts. Senior civil servants in super scale grades will be given a one-off payment of $400 without the 0.1 month annual variable component. All civil servants will also get the 1 month non-pensionable annual allowance, commonly referred to as the 13th month bonus. To explain more on this, we have senior political correspondent Grace Ho with us. Welcome, Grace. Now, Grace, the civil service is Singapore's biggest employer, and its bonus is definitely closely watched by the private sector. Now, stat boards and other government agencies also take the cue from it. So, with this low year-end bonus or lower year-end bonus, does this sound like gloom and doom for the other sectors?
Well, there's no rule that says that the other sectors have to follow the civil service, but as you mentioned, it is the largest employer, and naturally they would take the cue from it. People we've spoken to said that companies might look at it and say, well, we're going to peg the bonus or the increments of our staff to something that's similar. But of course, let's say if you are a company in the growth sector and you're actually facing manpower shortages, and obviously this is moot because,
And the last time the payout was low was in 2009 when the global financial crisis happened in Singapore, and that was when Singapore also suffered a negative growth. Was there a reason why there is a low payout this year?
Well, the AVC, or the annual variable component, is tied to economic conditions. So naturally in 2009, when there was negative growth, I think there was no year-end AVC at the time, and there was only a one-off 0.25 month payout. So similarly, this time around, because of the economic uncertainties, as the Public Service Division said in the statement they issued yesterday, they discussed with the public sector unions and decided that this was the right way to go to exercise economic restraint, giving this low payout. So it's the payout is both the year-end AVC as well as the mid-year AVC.
What about external factors? Do external factors, you reckon, play a part as well? Because we're talking about weak economic growth here.
So it's all of this is against the backdrop of continuing US-China trade tensions. There's a low sort of interest, low returns, low economic growth climate. So all of this has affected the outlook. And also, if we look at the statistics released by the Trade and Industry Ministry last month, the growth for this year is projected to be between 0.5 to 1%. I mean, not great. So that's reflected as well in this amount.
Now, thanks, Grace, again, for coming on to share more on this. Certainly, for those of you who are watching us for the full report, you can check it out on straitstimes.com. And now let's move on to What's Trending, where Dylan will share with us what's buzzing in the internetverse. Over to you, Dylan.
Thanks, Aranto. It's time for What's Trending. First up, the Singapore Symphony Orchestra has unveiled a new recording of the national anthem to mark the 60th anniversary of Singapore's national symbols. Take a look. Majulah Singapura or Onward Singapore was composed in 1958 by Zubair Syed. The current version was recorded in 2001. And that's not all. A new music video based on veteran singer-songwriter Ramli Sarip's NDP rendition has been released. Who could forget about that performance? Next is the end of an era for Sasa in Singapore. The Hong Kong cosmetics retailer is closing all 22 of its stores in Singapore after recording losses for 6 consecutive years. About 170 employees are to be affected, and Sasa has said that they will be fully compensated. Sasa announced that they will focus on the Hong Kong, Macau and mainland China market. And finally, the grand rivalry continues as Argentinian footballer Lionel Messi picked up his 6th Ballon d'Or award as Best Player of the Year. He now overtakes Cristiano Ronaldo's 5 awards, cementing his place as the GOAT or greatest of all time. Liverpool defender Virgil van Dijk placed 2nd and Ronaldo from Juventus came 3rd. Who is your pick for Best Player? Let us know in the comments below. That's all for What's Trending today. If you've seen a story you want to share, link it in the comment section below. Back to you, Haryanto.
Now, thanks, Dylan. Still on sports news, some SEA Games events have been suspended or rescheduled due to a typhoon hitting the Philippines. Sports like windsurfing, beach volleyball and canoe kayak racing were either suspended or postponed, while the triathlon mixed team relay was held 2 days earlier. Typhoon Kamuri, known locally as Tisoy, hit the eastern part of Philippines on Tuesday, tearing across the main island of Luzon and killing at least 1 person. Now, over in Clark, Philippines SEA Games Organizing Committee Chief Operating Officer Ramon Suzara said contingency plans were in place for bad weather, such as erecting tents at outdoor venues. Now, we are now joined by ST's Assistant Sports Editor Loh Lin Fong in Clark, who has the latest updates. Hello, Lin Fong.
Hello.
Hi, Lin Fong. If you could, share with us how's the situation on the ground? Will the SEA Games be extended because of all these delays?
Hi, Haryanto. I think the organizers have said whatever happens on the ground, they will not extend it beyond December 11, which is the closing ceremony of the SEA Games. If they really do have to stretch it, I think they will go to maybe about 12 noon, the cutoff of 12 noon to p.m. on the day itself, because the games have to go on and the closing ceremony has to start at 6 p.m. So it's all systems go, I think.
Right. And what about the situation as well in the parts that are affected by the typhoon?
Okay, so over here in Clark, actually, there's just a lot of heavy rain. But as you saw in the video earlier, that came from Manila, from the underwater hockey team manager. So he says that there's rain and strong winds. So everyone is mainly staying indoors, going to the gym, doing stuff outside, just indoors and not outdoors. I just came from Pacific Bay actually. It's raining very heavily there. It's kind of like a monsoon rain, but there's no strong winds, but a little bit like our December monsoon.
Right. And Lin Fong, now let's focus back to the games. Now, any highlights to look out for in the coming days?
Okay, so tomorrow is when there will be a lot of action. So we'll actually see Joseph Schooling in action. So he's going to be swimming the 4x200 freestyle relay. So the swimming team kicks off its action tomorrow. They're looking at, I think, a target of, they did 19 gold medals in 2017 SEA Games. So they are looking at trying to match that. But I just spoke to the team manager, the head coach, Gary Tan, earlier. He said it's going to be very challenging because Vietnam has some good swimmers coming through. And as well as Philippines, they brought in some swimmers as well, and they are unknown quality because they've not seen them.
Right. And Lin Fong, talking about the medal tally, what's our medal tally right now in general, in its entirety? Are we reaching the aim that we've set out for?
Yeah, I think the Straits Times, we predicted 56 gold medals. We're quite far from that at the moment. I think we're still below 10. But we did have chess winning our 900th SEA Games gold medal. So this is 900 in the whole history of SEA Games for Singapore. So that's quite special. This was in the women's rapid.
Right. Again, Lin Feng, thank you so much for the updates. Of course, do keep safe where you are at, and we'd like to also wish Team Singapore all the best in the coming events. Now, for those of you, of course, who are watching us and to keep updated of everything that's happening right at Manila and as well as the SEA Games, you can visit our website at straitstimes.com. There you have it. Those are our top stories for today. For more news and videos, of course, you can visit our website. Once again, I'm Haryanto. Tune in tomorrow for more stories on The Big Story.